Welcome, everybody. My name is Marty Mascari. I am a contractor under the North Central Texas Area Agency on Aging and the North Central Texas Aging and Disability Resource Center, or ADRC, both of which are part of the North Central Texas Council of Governments in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. We are extremely blessed to have Holly Glover with our partners at the James L. West Center today to talk about redirection and de-escalation tips for dementia care. But before we get started, we're just going to go over the CEU requirements. For those of you that are joining us today looking for any type of CEUs, the CEUs that are being offered today are for licensed nurses, licensed social workers, LPCs in the state of Texas, in addition to certificates of attendance. You're more than welcome, I believe, if you have a license in another state or a different license in Texas, to go through the process and get a certificate. But please note there's no guarantee that they're going to take those. I've had some people take the ones that I issue and have had their jurisdictions use them, but there's no guarantee. In order to qualify, you must complete the entire live webinar and the Q&A. Today's webinar is worth 1.5 hours of CEU credits. You must complete the SurveyMonkey evaluation, and that's different than some of the other webinars that I do. In this case, there's two different evaluations, but the SurveyMonkey evaluation is a must in order for you to receive any type of certificate. That link for that will go out to you in a follow-up email from me. The SurveyMonkey will be up and live until the end of the day on 4/17. Please make sure why does it say 4/17? I changed to 4/18, but I don't know what happened with that. But for 4/18. If you do it by 4/17, you'll still be good. So give them about 3 to 4 weeks once that closes to get those certificates out to you. It is a pretty tedious process getting all the certificates out. Addition to that, when you close out of Zoom today, Google it should give you the option to go answer survey questions. That's our Google survey. And if you would do that, we'd appreciate it. There'll also be a link to that in the follow-up email. That helps us report back on our funding that we applied for in order to put these webinars on. So that's all being said, we're going to turn it over to Holly Glover and let us get rolling. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. So today's subject, redirection and de-escalation. I have been mispronouncing that word all day long. So we're going to say redirection techniques in dementia care. We are so glad that you are here. There's some information about the West Center. I know some of you have reached out to us before for our residential care, respite care day program, and we now have short-term rehab. So if you need information about that, there's our information. Here's our objectives, and I have a new bio. I went to a program where they had their bio in pictures instead of words. Isn't that fun? So it tells all about you, but with pictures. So you can see there the universities I graduated from. I love running support groups and doing one-on-one therapy. I am a licensed counselor. I'm a grief therapist and a trauma therapist. Travel all over the United States and get to teach. I just got back from San Antonio on Saturday. Biggest thrill of my career, meeting Jimmy and Rosalind Carter and then getting to work with Mrs. Carter for many years, even giving the Georgia Caregiver of the Year keynote. So just love that family. There's my two precious dogs, George and Gypsy, and my daughter graduating as an LMSW from UTA. And what do you know? She went into hospice work. And my mom's in that picture too, who was a dementia care nurse for 34 years. So runs in the family. So I love the idea of a new bio with pictures. We are going to do just an overview of dementia before we jump in. The reason we do that is a reminder to us, whether we're professionals or whether we're family members, why are we having these challenging expressions? And those of you who've been on our programs for a while know we are trying to get away from using the word behaviors. Behavior sounds like they did something wrong on purpose. They're having an expression. It can be a challenging expression because they're doing the best they can with what remains, usually trying to get an unmet need met. So let's just do an overview of dementia. Keeping in mind, dementia is not the diagnosis. However, somebody can have the diagnosis of dementia of the unspecified type. There's over 130 different types, kinds, or forms of dementia. Dementia itself causes progressive impairment. It is a terminal illness. It is brain failure. The brain is actually dying. What most people know about dementia, if you ask them, is they will say memory loss. And they're very quiet because that's all they know. So for those of us who work in the field, or for those of you who are family caregivers, we know there's so much more to it than that. We didn't know it before. We didn't know it till we needed to know it. So I try to tell families, and if you're a family member on today, please don't beat yourself up about what you didn't know. You didn't know what you didn't know. You're on programs like this so that you will learn to do better. And instead of having guilt about the past, what if we replace that with grace? Replace guilt with grace. And let's move forward and do better as we learn more. Judgment, being rational, being reasonable, those go away because of the damage, the failure to the brain. Their personality may change. The ability to take care of themselves. Sensory input, motor output. So all of their senses are going to change also. Here's a good graphic that shows all those dementia effects kind of coming down over that dementia umbrella. Dementia is an umbrella term, just like cancer is an umbrella term. If someone were to say, my loved one has cancer, we would say what kind, type, or form. My loved one has dementia, what kind, type, or form. Now, we don't like the term reversible dementias. There's reversible memory loss in some people if their memory loss is being caused by thyroid disorder, vitamin deficiency, depression, malnutrition, and infection. You might reverse some memory loss, but we're talking about those irreversible dementias, Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, Parkinson's disease dementia, all of the frontotemporal dementias. There's many of them. And so let's actually look at what's happening to the brain. Why are we seeing these challenging expressions? And some of them actually aren't that challenging. It's how we perceive them. We'll talk about that today. How can we change our perception of some of the things that our loved ones or residents, clients, or patients are doing? This particular picture happens to be of somebody with Alzheimer's disease. We use it because, just like it says, areas of loss are fairly predictable in common dementias, but the experience is unique to each individual. Those of us who work in the field, what do we say? If you've seen one person with dementia, you've seen one person with dementia, because everyone is different. There is no checklist. There is no, we know they're going to do this after they do that. No, we don't. That's one of the things that makes this disease so challenging for professionals and for families. That brain on the left is a 3-pound brain. Brain on the right, 1-pound brain. And yes, what you're seeing are holes because the brain is dying. We don't yet have anything to stop this. They're working on it. They're coming out with things that we're hoping will slow it down. What if we could just stop it? What if we could just make it go away? We're just not there yet. So we have changes happening in the brain. We have structural changes happening because you can see them there. Those are permanent. The cells are shrinking and they're dying. But because that's happening, We also have chemical changes that are happening in the brain, and those chemicals are always fluctuating and they're inconsistent, and it progressively gets worse. So some of those challenging expressions we're going to talk about today aren't necessarily caused because the brain's dying, they're caused because the chemical changes in the brain, things like depression. And that is one of those can be challenging expressions that we might see in someone living with dementia. Those cells of the brain are producing less and less of the hormones and the chemicals. So it means they don't do what they used to be able to do. They can also have unexpected chemical rushes. Because their amygdala is intact, they can still go into fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all the way until the end of the disease. We know that a person with dementia can read our face, body language, tone, and gestures because the amygdala remains intact much longer than the hippocampus. The hippocampus is dying. Amygdala remains intact for the most part. And even if they have a flat affect, they don't appear to be there. They are there, and they can read you, your tone, your gestures, your body language. And sometimes, in fact, it isn't just sometimes, it's about 80% of the time, their behaviors are caused because of our approach or the environment. So about 80% of the time, challenging expressions, we didn't mean to cause it. We wouldn't do anything on purpose to make it happen. But it was our approach, our body language, our tone, our gestures, or the environment. We'll talk more about that. Let's look at one more. Actually, we're going to look at two more slides of the brain because I want you to fully understand what's happening before we jump into the de-escalation. I will not be able to say that word. The techniques we're going to talk about today. So some of the loss that we're going to see. They can't find the right words. I have some of that going on today. That's normal. That's called stress. When you sometimes can't find the right words and you realize it. Comprehension. Not only are they losing the words, they're losing the ability to understand what we're saying to them. Sometimes we think, oh, that they just have, people will even say they just have aphasia, they can't speak anymore. Well, part of aphasia is not being able to understand either. So we're still talking to them in the way we've always talked to them, and they're not even understanding what we're saying. They're going to start to have that word salad where they're losing their language. Or they may make up words, or they may and then have words. They may have vague language, single phrases. They'll start to make sounds. They're doing the theory of retrogenesis. We're going back to who they originally were. We originally were not talking in sentences. Originally, we weren't walking. We weren't toileting ourselves. We weren't feeding ourselves. That's where they're headed. Look what's preserved. Singing. Singing's over here on the right. Rhythmic language stays. Sometimes when a person can't speak anymore, they can still sing, or they can have sing-song voice, or they can hum. So we use music all the time. Automatic speech and social chit-chat will stay for a very long time, even after they don't have language. I could have someone come in my office right now, not a bit of the language we're using, but they might be I can understand what they're saying. Really? Tell me more about that, because I'm listening to their inflection and I can still have a conversation with them and make them feel like they're being heard. Now, we need to keep this in mind also. Day-to-day language is going away because it's stored on the left, and the left language leaves. Left language leaves. Right rhythm remains. There's 4 other types of words that are stored on the right. Curse words, sex talk, racial slurs. 3 other types, excuse me. Curse words, sex talk, and racial slurs. And you know why they're stored on the right? Because when we were really little and we heard them or we said them, somebody got on to us and said, you better never say those again. And they were not part of our day-to-day language. Even if they became part of our day-to-day language later, they didn't store on the right. They did store on the right. They didn't store on the left because left is day-to-day language. So curse words, racial slurs, and sex talk remain in people who've never used those words, and they will use them to get their needs met, or they'll use them because that's what they have left. Last picture of the brain that we're going to look at, that hippocampus, like we said, dying, it's going away. Immediate recall, going away. And immediate is within seconds sometimes. Attention to information, recent events, relationships even. I know. This is one of the hardest things for families, but we've been married 30, 40, 50 years. Right. But they're 70, 80, 90 years old. You weren't always married to them. They weren't always a parent. They weren't always a spouse. They were always someone's son or daughter. They've always had a mama and a daddy. So that's why they may go back to calling people mama and daddy and looking for mama and daddy. Mama and daddy usually, not always, are safe. Brother, sister. I've always had a brother, sister. I haven't always had kids. They're going back. Theory of retrogenesis. So long ago memories will stay. Confabulation will stay. Confabulation, some people will say they're lying. No, they're not. They don't have the capacity to lie. They're telling stories because they're trying to fit into the conversation. I had a gentleman come in my office and he looked up at my degrees and he counted. He went, "What? You have 3 degrees. I have 5. And I said, "Tell me about them." And he did. He told me 2 stories of his PhDs that he had. He didn't have any degrees, but he could tell me stories so that we could sit here and chit chat and talk. And I'm not going to correct him because we were making a connection during that time. Emotional memories stay because emotional memories are going to store on that amygdala, good and bad emotions. That's why we study trauma-informed care now. We've got to know about a person's trauma because it's likely going to come back. That's a whole other program we've got. Motor memories. That is why physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy are so fantastic because they can tap into those muscle memories and allow our loved ones to have quality of life. Let's switch gears and start talking about some communication, because communication, look what it's saying, communication, behaviors, meeting needs, their abilities changing. Those behavioral symptoms are inappropriate behaviors that a person living with dementia exhibits. The behaviors differ from the way the person living with dementia would have acted before their memory loss. It's normal for dementia. I know it isn't normal for them, but it's normal for dementia. We get asked that a lot. Is this normal for someone living with dementia? Yes, it is. Then the caregiver might say, is what I'm feeling normal? It's normal to have feelings that aren't normal to you during a time that's not normal. Make sure you heard that. It's normal to have feelings that are not normal to you during a time that's not normal. Seeing behavior symptoms in our loved ones can be very frustrating for caregivers, but there's ways that we can cope. That's what we're talking about today. There are no magic drugs. I wish there were. The drugs that we do have, the medications that we do have, are for treating symptoms. And sometimes they're appropriate. Sometimes we have to use them. What we want to do first is we want to look at behavior modification. So that's what we're going to look at. But we're going to talk about communication first. Think about what communication is. It's the spoken word and the nonverbal message. As this disease progresses, we have to start using more of the nonverbal. because they're not understanding the verbal. We've got to watch our face, our tone, our gestures, and our body language. We can get them to do just about everything that we need them to do. We've got to know how to approach. And it's not going to be like we've always done. We can't just say, go in there and get ready. What does that mean? Go put your pants on. Where do they go? There's a lot of steps in putting on pants. And one of the things that's damaged pretty early is sequencing, doing things in order. So look at this graph about communication. This is for all of us. This isn't people with dementia. This is everybody. Communication's really only about 7% words, about 55% body language, and about 38% tone. Now, you can imagine if you'd come on here month after month and I sat here just like this in monotone and I read the slides to you, you'd be dozing off in a minute. I hope you're not dozing off, but you'd sure be dozing off if I was doing that. So even though we're not in person, I can use body language and gestures and I can change my tone of voice. I've got to do that with people with dementia. Nonverbal communication is more important and more accurate than the spoken word. The how is more important than the what. So what does that look like? Eye contact. In the United States, eye contact is considered a sign of respect, but there are some cultures where direct eye contact is disrespectful. So keep that in mind. Posture. If we will sit across from the person we're speaking to, if we lean forward and we're looking them in the face, if the person is standing, stand to where you're looking in the face. If you lean forward, you lean in, that's called active listening. I'm giving you my full attention. I'm not on this thing. Well, you can't see it, my phone. I'm not on this and trying to talk to you at the same time. I'm giving you my full attention. They can read that. And then our facial expression. Before I go on to our houses here at the West Center, we call them houses. Some people might call them units, neighborhoods, wings, floors, whatever. I take my key before I tap the door. I take a big breath and I smile. Because that's how I'm walking in. Because that's what they need to see. And my voice is going to go up and I'm going to call people by name. As many names as I know, I'm going to call them by name and say, it's good to see you again. Because what am I telling you in that one sentence? It's good to see you again. I know you. So you must know me. Again, I've been here before. They're reading us. Think about what happened during the pandemic when we're in full PPE. I know you saw folks go into failure to thrive. We did. And think about what our body language was saying that first week when they said shut it down and we all went into full PPE. And what happened to your residents, just what happened to ours, they started to tank because they were picking up and they were reading us. We even had a resident be able to tell her daughter through FaceTime, she was talking to her and she put her face real close to the screen and said, there's bandits everywhere. There's bandits. Now, for those of you who know what a bandit is, I have to explain this to young people. Gunsmoke, they break in, they're robbing the bank, their face is covered and they have a hat on and they're robbing, they're taking things. Bandits are the bad guys. And we were moving fast and talking fast and we had a furrowed brow as we were doing it. And the residents were picking up on that because their amygdala is still intact. And what if you're moving around your house like that? If your loved one's still at home and you're always in a hurry or you're furrowed, would you just sit down? Please, could you just sit down? We've got to get in the car. Come on, let's go. We're going to be late. They may not be understanding one word you're saying, but they're understanding your tone and your body language and your face. Gestures and mirroring. When we need them to do something, many times we can do a gesture and they will mirror us. I had someone tell me that she could sit across from her husband, pick up the spoon, there's a spoon, and she could start to eat and he would start to eat. But if she just told him sit down and eat, what's that mean? Didn't mean anything. But he could still do what she did and he could still feed himself. She didn't need to take over. Dignity, independence, respect. She needed to figure out how to get through to him. She needed to break through, and he could mirror. Brush your teeth. Take off your jacket. Bring those sentences way down. Tone up and do the action. So we've said behaviors, communication. Think about a behavior, the way in which one acts or conducts oneself, especially towards others. How we behave is communication. And people with dementia are coping and doing the best they can with what they have left. Keep thinking about those brains we looked at earlier. Could we expect the person with the 1 pound brain to act like the person with the 3 pound brain? They can't. But so many times we do, especially in the early stages where you can't see dementia. And what about sometimes it seems like they're doing it on purpose? Or one day they can put their pants on and the next day they can't. Because what's happening, it doesn't just bam, it's gone. Those neurons are connect, miss. Because maybe I didn't sleep well last night because there was a storm, or maybe I didn't eat or take my medicine this morning, miss all day. But then I eat well, I get up, I have breakfast, you're in a good mood, I'm in a good mood, we got something good on the TV, I took my medicine, connect. But then we get in a fight or I get miss. And eventually there's a complete miss because it isn't there anymore. You saw the brain going from 3 pounds to 1 pound. The brain is dying. They're not doing it on purpose. They didn't do anything to make it happen. And as we're going to see, they're not giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. I would suggest you put that somewhere. You write it on something. The next slide's going to say it. Person with dementia is not giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. They're not understanding their environment. And yes, there comes a time where we may say, go in the bathroom and get ready. And we go in and they're just looking. And some people may react by throwing everything off of here because there's too much stuff on the vanity. Or I might react by taking this toothpaste and getting it out and putting it all over the mirror because that's fun. Because I don't know what to do with it. And then we get mad. Theory of retrogenesis, they're going back in time. What would a 3, 4, 5-year-old do? Would we just tell them, go in there and get ready? Or would we, let's brush our teeth? Now let's do this next. And we do it step by step. Here it is. The person with dementia isn't giving you a hard time. They are having a hard time. Keep that in mind. You're getting these slides. If you don't already have them, you'll be getting them later. Marty had put them in the chat, but some people were having a hard time with it. I've got it in a frame right here in my office. Let's get into some of those challenging expressions. I've still got behaviors on the slide, but let's talk about some of those challenging expressions, and then we're going to talk about some techniques that we can use. Here's some latest studies. About 80% of dementia are going to have at least one behavioral disturbance during the course of the illness. Now, there's about 36 common symptoms to dementia. These are some of the ones we see the most often, and the latest numbers on them. Depression and dementia do tend to go hand in hand. I know that number is low. I just think it's underreported. I've seen it too much. Agitation, just about everybody's going to have some agitation, but you know what? We do too, don't we? Without dementia, we get agitated. I get agitated driving to work every day. It's okay. They can have all the same feelings and emotions we do. Verbal aggression is really high also. Now think about, why is that high? And why is it that we see more aggression during ADL time? ADLs are activities of daily living, dressing, grooming, bathing, toileting, getting dressed. Why in the world would we see more aggression during that time? Think about it. I know how to do this, and you're either telling me I'm doing it wrong, trying to do it for me, rushing me, but I've been doing this since I was a kid. But because the brain is damaged and it's dying, they can't say to us, I would really appreciate it if you would give me a little more time so that I could do this for myself. But you know what they can do? No! Stupid. Get back. Shut up. Throw stuff. They're saying the same thing with what they have left. Wondering, physical aggression. We're talking about what to do about that. Then we're going to talk about the difference in hallucinations, delusions, and paranoia also, and disinhibition. And again, there's about 36 common symptoms, and we'll look at more than this. Meeting needs more than the basic needs. We do have fundamental needs. All of us have fundamental needs. So think about this. Just because a person has dementia, these fundamental needs do not go away. They don't know that they're safe. That's why we have to keep reassuring them over and over. And just because we reassure them once, they don't remember that we've reassured them. And if our tone changes as they continue to repeat, well, now I've made you mad. You're mad at me. Let's look at some factors that can increase some unwanted behaviors or expressions. Being in a new environment. So when we have to go to the doctor's office, one of the worst places for a person with dementia is in the ER. We want to try to stay out of there if we can. Being around a lot of people, holidays, holiday decorations. We do a whole program about the holidays. We accommodate the person with the disease. They can't. So we have to pull it back sometimes to accommodate them. This week in my support group, we were talking about someone going home for Easter. And we said, does he know it's Easter? Is he asking to go home? And she said, but it's Easter. Okay, who's wanting him to go home? I am. What's going to be best for him? Maybe we need to have Easter here. Maybe we need to bring it down a little bit. Maybe we need to reserve an area here in his home. We don't want to do anything. We tend to make it about us and not about them and their feelings and their needs. We are always going to look for undiagnosed pain. You know what a person with dementia is going to say if you ask them if you're in pain? No. No is one of the first 5 words we learn, and it stays. I've been doing this a long time. I've sat with close to 400 people as they've died, and that word no remains. But they'll tell you with their body. Because if I'm saying no with a furrowed brow and I'm holding her, I'm telling you, yes, please help me. But I can't say that. Physical problems, boredom, and loneliness. I'll find a way to keep myself busy, especially if you just keep telling me to go sit down. because go sit down is just getting me out of your way, but I'm bored. A negative approach from us, and then sundowning. And we'll look specifically at sundowning. That is one of the symptoms of dementia. Some other possible causes for unwanted expressions. They're not understanding. We're asking them to do something they can't do. When I used to do assessments for people with dementia, and some of them were really simple, like I might say, write me a sentence. It can be anything, just write me a sentence. And I've had people shove the paper and pencil at me. Well, what are they telling me? I can't write a sentence. Now, sometimes they'd say, you write it. Okay. They're telling me the same thing. They'll mirror other people's moods. They'll pick up on us and they'll mirror our moods or other people. Not being in control of their emotions. Think about that 3-year-old that you tell no. What do they do? And what do we do to help calm them down? Because we tend to not do that with adults. When a child's upset, we hold, we touch, we pat, we rock, we do repetitive motions to help them settle and calm down, even with an infant. And as this disease progresses, they need that more and more and more. They need positive, compassionate touch. Some things we can do to prevent unwanted behaviors, and then we are going to watch a Teepa Snow video. Those of you who know Teepa Snow, she is the guru, the master of all things dementia. And so we're going to see what she has to say about behaviors, and then we're going to jump into some specific behaviors and some techniques. We're never going to argue with somebody with dementia. You're not going to win. I promise you're not going to win. Don't even go there. You're wrong. Just be wrong. We call them therapeutic stories. You're the one that took all my money? Okay. I didn't say I took all your money, but okay, let me fix it. Okay means I heard you. Don't argue with somebody with dementia. All you're going to do is upset them, and you're going to get upset. And they are going to get over it at some point, and you're still going to be upset. We have to continue to reassure them. We're going to use some techniques where we offer food, music, animals, children. Those are the 4 best things to distract with. Sweeter the better. Their music. If we don't have real animals or real children, we're going to get on YouTube and type in children laughing, baby animals falling down. Have you seen this dog? You ought to see look at what this puppy's do. I know we're going to break that door down in a minute. I'm going to help you break that door down. But have you seen my grandbaby dancing? They can only have one thought at a time. If I can just get them right here and not with the phone, because that's not big enough. Let's look at this iPad. Watch for signs of escalating behaviors. We're going to talk more about these. Clenched fist, frown, scowling, furrowed brow, rapid eye movements, muttering under their breath or yelling, and pacing. All right, let's watch some Teepa Snow, and then we will jump right back in. Hopefully. It's showing that it's a minute in. Hold on.
And what they're feeling, what
Awesome.
maybe you're smelling and they're not picking up on, what they're tasting versus what you would be tasting. Because what you want to do is realize that you need to see it from their side. And once you see it from their side, you try to be in their shoes, figure this out. Suddenly, when you see things, hear things, experience things differently, and you make that choice, that decision to do that, the uh-oh becomes an aha, because you can start to realize it's the setting, it's the care, it's the gem. It's who they were before this all started. There's lots of pieces to the puzzle. Your job, if you want to do this well and do this over the course of this condition, is to stop the judgment. time yourself out and reframe this behavior. Go from a challenging and frustrating, I just don't understand why she's doing this, to pausing for yourself, getting some help, maybe getting somebody else to take a look with you, because maybe you just can't see it because of who you are and how it works. But what you're going to do is take that step back, look more broadly, and at that point, make a decision. What are they trying to do? Are they communicating unmet physical need? There's basically 5 of them you want to learn about, or an unmet emotional need. Or are you seeing the emotional need, but you're missing the physical need? Or was it something that is happening in the environment or happened earlier today? As I said, complicated. So you need some training. You need to know what's going on and what's not going on, so you can quit sitting in judgment and start using this. That's the best tool. That and your ability to bring people together to help you. So with challenging behaviors, it's not about them. It's about us and what we choose to do about this effort to communicate an unmet need, and helping us figure out what is the need and how can we better meet it for success for both of us. Making a positive difference because we choose positive approach to the care. Now, remember this lady? What do you think she's doing? You see her beating on the chairs, making noise, annoying people, and you know she needs to go to the bathroom. It's been a long time. You've tried to make her stop, but she won't. What if I told you she used to clean houses for a living? I'm going to try substitution and a positive approach rather than trying to make her quit. Miss Leona. Well, hey there. Get my hand out the way. You're trying to get them clean. Here, try this. She's a busy woman. I'm going to try a substitution here. I'll trade you. Not yet. Show her. Rub it with that. Can you rub it? Yeah. Here, rub it. I'm getting there. Trade me. Trade me. Here you go. Take this. All right, give it. You got it. Now trade out. There you go. Ta-da. Now rub it. Now I show her, and there she goes. There we go. People are less annoyed, not so much noise. And she's cleaning. Now I want to reinforce it. That's good. That's good. 2 more to go. I still haven't met. You're doing a fantastic job. Her unmet need. 1 more substitution. Nicely done, Leona. She needs to get finished with this. Boy, you are good. So we can move on. You get this one? Watch me, I'm sneaky. That's it. Good. Good. I visually eliminate the task. Whoa. Woo. That is beautiful. You did a fantastic job. Man, you're a good cleaner. Here. Thank you. All right. Well, come with me and we'll sit down and take a break. Oh, God. I know you're ready for one, aren't you? Now, before she goes to sit down, though, we have a place to go. Girl, you worked hard. Oh, God. You are one of the hardest working women I've ever met. Yeah. Well, Lord knows. Let's go to the ladies before we sit down. Okay. Okay. We changed the challenge to success.
Isn't that good? Isn't that good? All with her approach. All with her approach. Now she had to know what she did in the past. That she cleaned. And she had to also know that that's what she was doing. She wasn't giving anybody a hard time. She wasn't making a lot of racket. She was cleaning the chairs. She met her right where she was. Teepa Snow, Teepa Snow. You can find her on YouTube. She also has some great trainings. So decoding the behaviors. How do we get to where Teepa was? Everybody has had, and we have likes and dislikes, experiences, habits, memories from the past, pet peeves that contribute to how we react to situations. We need to look at the current situation from the viewpoint of the person with dementia and see what's triggering a behavior. If it's even a behavior. Is it a behavior? Again, usually it's an expression. As the disease progresses and as the disease changes, so will those behaviors and what triggers them. Something that maybe never bothered them may bother them now. Something that used to always bother them may not bother them anymore. So let's talk about how we can decode. We start with, let's get curious. In trauma-informed care, we say, we don't ever go up and say, what's wrong with that person? We say, what happened to them? Not what's wrong with you, what happened to you? So if we're looking at a behavior, a challenging behavior, let's think about what happened right before. What was it that happened right before? Did something happen right before? Did something happen this morning? Earlier today? Has something been going on all week long? And then think about, where does the behavior happen? When does it happen? Who's involved? What makes it worse? And does anything make it better? And we've actually got a chart here. And again, you're going to have copies of this. I would encourage you to use this or make something yourself. Find out, who are they as a person? I used to have a resident who would scream, why, until she was wet with sweat. Her blood pressure was up. She would be hoarse. She got louder when the nurse came by with the medicine cart. We're trying everything. People are saying, you need to medicate her. Move her out of here. She's driving us crazy. We finally sit down as a team. You know what we figured out? She's a nurse. What she was saying is, why is that person doing my job, is what she was saying. So our nurse started pulling her and pushing the cart and showing her, have I got the right pills? She started talking to her as a nurse. The screaming stopped. Did it stop 100% of the time? No. But when we started, we even let her go in the nurse's station. I let her go in care plans with me. I started treating her like a nurse. And she told me one time, as a gentleman was coming, he had a Foley catheter right on his legs, clear as day, someone needs to flush that catheter. Because I started talking to her as a nurse and treating her as a nurse. We got to know, who are they as a person? What's their level of dementia? How are they feeling? What's going on right now? Number one, could there be a UTI, a urinary tract infection? Did they just start a new medication? Are they tired? Did they get enough sleep? Have they been drinking water? And then what am I communicating with my body, with my gestures, with my tone? And then look at the environment. Look at the lighting. Listen for the noise. I've got a sound machine in my office. A person with dementia might hear that as rain falling or a static, because all of the senses are changing. Because what controls the senses? Brain's failing. And then talk about their patterns, their routine, and the time. Let's say you've got a brand new resident and they're staying up all night. We don't want to jump to, well, we better get them something to help them sleep. What if they were somebody that worked at night? Maybe we need to get them something to do all night. We go to their world. They don't come to our world. We've got to know our residents, patients, and clients. Then you ask, what now? Use the checklist. Take action. What are we going to try? Is the outcome realistic? What's something else I could try if it doesn't work? And can I try it again later? And you start coming together as a team and brainstorming. If you're at home taking care of your loved one, get in a support group. That's part of your team. Talk to kids, talk to neighbors, talk to your church members. I rarely talk to anyone that doesn't know someone that has dementia. Redirect. You're going to hear this over and over and over. You'll become the master of redirection whenever you have somebody with dementia. Sometimes it's changing the environment. We use lots of therapeutic stories. Now, some people call those lies. We call them therapeutic stories. The Alzheimer's Association calls them fiblets. We go to their world. They cannot come to ours. If they're looking for someone who's dead, I'm not going to tell them over and over that their mother's dead. If they want their mother, what I'm going to say to them is, tell me about your mom. Let's talk about your mama. Let's get over here and have some ice cream. We're going to talk about your mama until she gets here. Tell me about your mom. That's active listening. That's compassion. That's validation therapy. I'm not going to say, your mom's dead, because it'll be the first time she heard it. I'm not going to do that to them. If they can't be redirected, and we'll talk more about this, we're going to back off. We're going to try later. We might need a different face because it might be us. It may be in the way we're approaching them. They may just need 5 minutes. I've had families, our residents are upstairs, and I've had families go upstairs, turn right around and come back down, look at me and go, she's not having it today, and off they go. Or they'll get a cup of coffee and they'll go back up in a few minutes. Some other strategies for managing. Routine, 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 routine. A person with dementia needs routine. We as caregivers need routine also. Familiarity and structure can help lessen those behavioral occurrences. Again, watch your nonverbal. Give repeated reassurances because you keep in mind they forget. Don't argue or try to reason. They can't be reasonable or rational. That is right up here in the frontal part of the brain, and that goes away in everybody. And some people, that's the first thing that goes away, is the ability to be reasonable or rational or make good judgment calls. Or their filter goes away. They'll say and do things they never would have said or done. Use active listening. You'll find yourself doing lots of apologizing. I'm so sorry that happened. I'm mad too. I'm sorry I made you feel that way. I can't believe I forgot to tell you about that appointment. Even if it was on their calendar, I called them on the way there and it was written on a piece of paper. We get there, what are you doing here? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry I forgot to tell you about the appointment. You know what? As soon as it's over though, I was thinking we'd go to lunch and maybe get us some ice cream on the way there. Whatever we have to do. Some more strategies. Using positive body language. Watch their body language because you can pick up on things from them. Speak slowly and calmly. I've said this a lot. Some of you who've been on here, I hope this has become one of your go-tos. Sometimes the difference between a response and a reaction is a single breath. Now I can respond and not react. I'm going to take that breath. I usually always say okay whenever I breathe out. You sure don't have to do that. I'll do okay. All right, here we go. What am I doing? I'm reassuring myself. I can do this. I just pushed some oxygenated blood up here and I'm going to make good decisions now. Give easy to follow instructions, one thought at a time. We're not going to say, put your shoes on if they can't. We're going to start with sit here. And I'm tapping the chair while I sit down too. This leg. Maybe just 2 words at a time. We're talking them through. Here's those communication tips again. We're not going to argue. We're not going to confront. Give those brief sentences. Here's some great ones. Let's do it together. I could use your help. I can't do hardly anything around here. But if I go up to a resident and say, I need your help with something, I was trying to figure this out. They love to help. One of the ways that I get a support group with residents together is to say, now who are these guys? And I'm showing them a picture of the Beatles. But we're coming together. Who are these guys? I'm not calling it a support group because nobody wants to do that. We're calling it Chit Chat with Holly. Come on, look at that. Who is this? What's going on with them? And now I'm just getting them, getting their attention. Get over here. She's got something interesting to look at because I got to get their attention first. One thought at a time. One thought at a time. And look at that second to last bullet point. They can't remember that they can't remember that they can't remember. And we do not need to keep reminding them that they can't remember. We're not even going to use the word remember with somebody with dementia. We're getting rid of that. Active listening. We've talked about this, and I'm going to start speeding up because we've got 30 minutes left. And again, you're going to have these slides. Keeping in mind, what's your body language saying? Some other things you can say. If they're mad, they're upset. I know. Or this isn't right. I'm upset too. We can mirror them. I'm frustrated too. When I had a man come and tell me those people kept me up all night, what are you going to do about it? They kept me up too. You heard them? That's validation therapy. Am I telling a story? Yes, I am. I'm telling a therapeutic story. I'm on your side. I'm sure not going to say there wasn't anybody keeping you. I could ruin the whole rest of his day. He won't even know why he's still mad, but he's still mad. Think of the emotion of the person. Some more examples you can use. Tell me more. That's a great one. Show me. If they sing to the thing and the thing and the stuff, you know the thing. Would you show me the thing? Or what does the thing do? What does that stuff do? Show me the stuff. And then we've got the very last bullet point. Okay. And people, I'm not going to say okay if they're accusing me of something. You took all my money. Okay, let me call the bank. I didn't say, okay, yes, I did. I said, okay, I heard you. That's called a therapeutic story. We don't reason. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've made from my office phone to my cell phone. And I'm calling the police department. I'm calling the newspaper. I'm calling the person that owns this stupid place. I'm calling whoever they want to call. And I'll let them get on the phone and call. Because what did I just do? I fixed it. Validate their feeling, fix it, and distract. That's those 3 steps. Validate the feeling, fix whatever it is, usually with a therapeutic story, and then we're going to distract. Food, music, animals, children. Again, keep in mind, and we've got to hear things 7 times for us to fully get it. That's us with our 3-pound brain. Racial slurs, sex talk, and curse words remain. It is not personal. I want you to hear this quote. It is important to recognize that since dementia affects the function of the brain, changes in behaviors, they are caused by the disease. They're not a reflection of the person's character or of their feelings. We have to keep in mind, it's not me, it's the disease. And it's not them, it's the disease. Use your nonverbal communication. Come back and try later. Join a support group. Take care of yourself. All behavior has a purpose. Try to identify their triggers, and we can change how we respond rather than react to challenging behaviors. The first thing we always want to look for is pain. Look for signs like moaning, grabbing a body part, having trouble sleeping, being very stiff, pushing folks away. Now I use this picture all the time, and I use it with students, and I will ask them, look at this full picture. And if you approached this lady, would you intervene? Do we need to do anything with her? And the answer is yes. What's going on? Because if I ask her, are you okay? Or if I ask her, are you hurting? Or do you want to come over here and participate? No. She's got a lot going on. Is her head hurting? But look what else she's got. This lady has arthritis really bad. Assess for pain first, always. Now we're going to talk just a little bit and pretty fast about some specific symptoms and some things that we can do about it. And again, you've got these slides. If you don't have them, you're going to get them. Sleep disturbances, things that we can see, sleep disturbances. These are some of the most common things that we see in dementia. They lose their circadian rhythm, that 24-hour clock, it's gone. That's why it's important to keep them on a schedule. Now, as the disease progresses, they're going to start sleeping more in the daytime. That's normal. By the end of the disease, they may sleep up to 20 hours a day, just like an infant can sleep up to 20 hours a day. And that is normal also. But if they are sleeping all day and awake at night, they've got their circadian rhythm out of whack. We've got to do something about that. There's several things to do. Make sure they're getting some sunlight in the morning. If it's the time of year, or if you're someplace where there's not a lot of sunlight, get a happy light. Get one of those lights that simulates sunlight. I've got one sitting here on my desk. Avoiding caffeine in the afternoon, keeping them busy throughout the day. Limit those nap times during the day by keeping them busy. Now, that's hard to do at home. Use a day program. If you've got a day program in your area, please don't say my loved one would never do it. I can't tell you how many times I heard that. I used to be the director of the day program, and then I'm sending pictures of their dad dancing later that day. So please consider doing something like that. Sundowning. Now, a person can sundown at any time of day, but usually it's about this time until dark. So 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock until dark. But it can start at any time. And again, it's because their body clock is off. They may have been overstimulated during the day. Sometimes that can cause sundowning. It may be because there's shadows or the light is getting dim, so we want to have some lights on. It may be because they're picking up on us and our fatigue and our stress. And it may be because they are back at a time where at 5 o'clock every day I had to go home, so I got to get out of here at this time because that memory is there that it's time to leave. So things that we can do, again, routine. We're going to have dinner or supper at 5:30. We're watching Wheel of Fortune at 6:30. We're putting on some music at 7 and folding clothes. We're starting to just calm down and do something repetitive, even if it's the same basket of clothes you folded last night. And I need your help. I need your help with these clothes. And we're going to start getting, I may put some lavender in the diffuser, and we're going to start to calm down for the night. Let's look at depression, withdrawal, and mood changes. Early in the disease, depression is usually because they know something is happening, just like we know something is happening. One of the biggest topics we talk about in support group is it's so much easier when they finally turn the corner into that middle stage of the disease and they don't know that they don't know. It's hard in the beginning when they're asking, why am I forgetting? What's wrong with me? So they'll have some depression. Later in the disease, many times the depression is because of the chemicals in the brain and what's happening with mood changes. So you may see your loved one go on and off of antidepressants, or maybe some combinations of antidepressants, and that's okay. It's okay. Wandering and pacing. Why would somebody be wandering around? Now, there's a difference in wandering and pacing. Wandering usually is just walking around and kind of looking like they're strolling. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, that's why some people end up being placed so that they have more room to just wander around. Because at home, they're getting into everything. They're wandering and they're rummaging. And a lot of times that's from boredom. It can also be a side effect of medication. It can just be because they're restless or they're confused or they're trying to get to work or they're trying to get home. They might be looking for the bathroom or for something. Pacing, though, the person's usually walking pretty fast. They might have a furrowed brow. They might have fists, and they're on their way somewhere. So we want to try to figure out, are they going somewhere? Are they looking for something? When was the last time they went to the bathroom, like Teepa did in her video? Assist them in finding the room they're looking for. Some people at home will even set up a rummage room. So they're everything in the room their loved one can go through, and it's not going to hurt anything if it gets torn up or broken. Offer snacks and finger foods and drinks for them because of dehydration or even blisters. Some of the good things, if this is getting them some exercise, if they're wondering, that's a good thing. If you could do something to help them get some exercise, that's a good thing. But other things, if they're trying to get out of the house, is we might put a mirror on a door because they might turn around if they see something, or cover the door with a blanket or a curtain. Putting locks on doors up high, because it's pretty rare that a person with dementia looks straight up. So a lot of people will put locks up high. Put stop signs on doors, because we learned what stop signs were a long, long time ago. And they will stop and look at a stop sign and they know what that means. Some other things you might do is use this that's on here called Medic Alert Safe Return. It is a bracelet or a necklace, and we give you the information here. There are GPS shoes that you can buy online. A lot of people now are using air tags on their loved one if they are still very mobile and they are at home. Make sure that you're doing something like this. Let's go to repeating the same question over and over. Now, if they're saying something like help, 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 where's my mother? Mama, 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 mama. There's some kind of unmet need. Just think about what they're saying. I don't feel safe. Something here doesn't feel safe. So we need to figure out their unmet need. But if they're doing a sing song, and my favorite to share was my sweet lady who used to sing, you got a little cookie, got a cookie, cookie, cookie. Have you got a little cookie, got a cookie, cookie, cookie? And she'd rock back and forth singing about a cookie. It might be driving me crazy, but she's fine. She wasn't wanting a cookie because I tried giving her all kinds of cookie. She was rocking and smiling the whole time. She was fine. There's times to intervene, and then there's times that we don't need to intervene. Inappropriate sexual behavior. First thing we need to do is figure out, is it actual sexual behavior? Because the majority of the time it's not. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is somebody being very flirty. Someone might become hypersexual. It does happen. When that does happen, there's several things that you can do. Sometimes they're just trying to express affection or even intimacy, or they are longing for someone to touch them because the only touch they get is when someone's changing their clothes or they're in the shower, they're putting them in the bed. We have to start touching a person with dementia even more as the disease progresses. We want to show them more affection, just like we do that young affection with repetition, patting, having our arm around them, listening to music, dancing, massage, hugs, things that are touch but that aren't sexual. We can also have an intimate time with a person. Lay in the bed with your loved one with dementia. There's nothing wrong with that. Hold them close. This is part of life. It is a natural biological function. We are sexual beings, and that doesn't go away just because somebody gets dementia. Now, sometimes if someone does become hypersexual, you may have to, for a period of time, use medications. I've sure seen that happen over and over. But all of these, if your loved one, your clients, your residents, or your patients go through these, it's temporary because they're going to progress in the disease and these things will go away. They might start doing something else. Rummaging. They could be cleaning, just like the lady we saw in the video. They could be bored. They might be looking for something. And so lots of times they can't tell you what they're doing or what they're looking for. We are not going to scold them. We're going to provide reassurance. And sometimes they're needing something to do with their hands. I've had people who were rummaging that if I get them a box of stuff to sort through, they're pretty happy. Or drawers to sort. People with dementia like to sort, especially in that early to mid. Sorting is something they want to do. You can have them help you by cleaning off countertops, setting the table, folding clothes. Have something they can rummage in. Hoarding, collecting, and saving. the two things that people with dementia tend to want to hoard the most or keep: Kleenex. They love keeping those tissues, roll them up in their sleeves, put them in their shirt, and little packets of sweet and low or sugar. If they're inpatient somewhere, if they live in a facility, those go missing. Now, do I need to intervene with those? No. Hurting anybody? Is it hurting them? Just make sure you clean out their clothes before you put them in the wash. What we do want to watch for is somebody maybe who's taking knives, utensils, and if you're at home, we always encourage you, clean out your knife drawer, just get rid of the knives, keep a very few, wrap them in a towel, put them on top of the refrigerator, use them when you need them, but don't have a knife drawer. So hoarding and collecting are very normal. It's part of dementia. Eating non-edible objects, one of the things we want to try to do is to trade. I'll give you an example. I had someone who had a candle that looked like an apple and smelled like an apple. And I watched the man pick it up and take a bite out of it like an apple. You couldn't tell him that's an apple. His wife, though, had been in classes. She's been trained. She ran in and got another apple and she traded him. Oh, I'd like to taste yours. You want to taste mine? And they traded apples. So most of the time you can get somebody to trade with you. We're going to talk about paranoia, hallucinations, and delusions. Paranoia is an unfounded fear or a suspicion. Very, very common. Hallucinations, they can be visual, auditory, or other sensory illusions that we can't see, hear, taste, or smell, but they can, and they're very, very real. We see more of these in people with Lewy body and people with Parkinson's. They might be frightening. If they're frightening, we need to intervene. If they're not frightening, leave them alone. We're not going to tell them that it's not there. Delusions are false beliefs that seem real to the person experiencing them. There's babies under the bed. Babies, babies, babies under the bed. Get the babies out from under the bed. Delusion. What do we do with these? They're common. Sometimes they occur in that middle stage. They're the most common in the middle stages of the disease. They are caused by a certain part of the brain that's being affected at that time. They can also be caused by medications reacting to each other. So you always want to let your doctor know if your loved one starts to do this, especially after a medication change. If they are acting out their dreams or they are afraid, that's when we just need to intervene, tell them that they're safe. We're not going to tell them that there's not babies under the bed, but we're going to pull the babies out from under the bed. We're not going to tell them that there's not white mice everywhere. We're going to call the exterminator and maybe even put up a sign on the door that says exterminator. Redirection, change the subject, go to their world, provide reassurances. Remember, old traumas can come back up in their life. So if you know their history, think about, could this be something happening? Had a woman move all the furniture in front of her door at night because somebody bad was coming in her room at night. That was coming from something that had happened to her a long, long time ago. We need to know that kind of stuff. So keep those things in mind. Paranoia, hallucinations, and delusions. Toileting. Again, we know that with dementia, we're kind of going back in time. So eventually we're going to get to the point that they're likely going to be incontinent. I've given some things on this slide. One thing you may see there that you're not familiar there with is called an incontinence skirt. An incontinence skirt. It's in the upper right. You can order them online. I've had some people have some pretty good luck with them. And it is something that they actually wear at nighttime that is padded. They wear it with their brief that they have, and you can put a pad down. And people have said they're really, really absorbent and they're washable. Don't call them diapers. Please don't ever call them diapers because that's what children wear. Call them briefs or call them underwear. If you have to use pads on the bed at night or in the chairs, they have disposable and they have the kind that you can wash. Women usually don't have much of a time going into like pads or liners because it's been part of their life before. Men, many times though, will have a problem with it. And sometimes you have to get really creative with how you're going to get them to wear the pads or wear these new underwear. And they do come in all different colors now. But make sure they're on that toileting schedule. That's one of the things Teepa was dealing with is she knew the woman had not been to the bathroom recently. So we've got to get creative in how to get them to the bathroom. People with dementia will often remove their clothing and walk around. Typically, when they take their clothes off, it's because they're too hot or they're too cold, but they couldn't tell you the difference. The fact is that they're uncomfortable. There's a tag, so they'll just take it off. But if they're taking their clothes off, there's a reason, but they're probably not going to be able to tell you the reason. We've kind of talked about repetitive yelling, screaming. Most of the time, if somebody's yelling and screaming, we need to get down to why, and it's almost always fear or feeling out of control. It's usually during ADL care, that activities of daily living, we need to continue to talk in a quiet voice. It's an old teacher trick. If you go into a room and a bunch of kids are talking, you start bringing your voice down, and so that they'll listen to hear what you're trying to say to them. You can also say things like, the baby's sleeping. Because we learned that when we were really little. Or we might try, did you hear that? What was that sound? What was it? And it's amazing. Try it. Try it. Might not work the first time, but keep trying it. Quickly, I know we're getting close. We got about 10 minutes. I want to talk about how to prevent injury if somebody is starting to escalate. If you see someone with clenched fist, a deep frown or a scowl, their eye movements are darting around, or they're muttering under their breath, there's some things that you can do to keep from getting hurt. Start trying to give them, they may need a physical activity to keep them busy. Let's go outside and walk in an area that's fenced, in an area that's a courtyard. But let's look at some other things we can do. If someone is pacing frantically, banging on the table, pulling at the door, grabbing others, or waving their arms and legs around, we have got to jump into distraction. We're not going to argue with them. I'm going to give the example again. The man's trying to break the door down. I got to get out of this damn place. I'm getting out of here, getting out of here, getting out of here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm calling his name. Hey, Bill, Bill. I need to get him looking at me. Bill, hey, Bill. I know it. I need to get out of here too. I've got some tools in my office. I'm not telling him to stop breaking the door down. I'm actually going to help him. I'm giving him reassurances. I'm on his side. Validation therapy. I don't know why that door won't open. Come on, let's go over here and get these tools. Come on. And on the way to get the tools, I'm going by, on the way to get these tools, I got some ice cream when I went to the store. Why don't we grab some first, then we'll go get the tools. Try it. Try it. A person with dementia can only have one thought at a time. Ice cream, God's gift. They're losing their taste except for sweet. Almost everybody, they keep sweet. Put their music on, not your music, their music. Type in YouTube, children laughing. Let's look at these kids. Baby animals falling down. To keep yourself from getting hurt, don't wear jewelry that has sharp edges because you might tear their skin. Don't wear hanging necklaces. Don't wear hoop earrings. Don't wear open-toed shoes. I know we're going into the summer. Be careful. Make sure and keep space between you and someone who's agitated. This picture right here, I use this to teach students also. There's too many people in the room and there's too many people talking, because look what she's done. She's backed herself against the wall. She's defensive with a fist, but she's holding her hand like, I don't know what to do. There's too many people talking. We want fewer people rather than more people. More people's going to send them into defense, fight, flight, freeze, just like they would you. Imagine a group of people coming in your room and they're all talking at the same time and they're talking a language you don't understand. And their body language is that you're going to get defensive also. They can only hold one thought at a time. So if we can eliminate what's upsetting them, we can start over. If they can't be redirected, back off. Come back later. Don't go get another person. Just back off. You might send another person in a minute because it might be your face. It's just you right now. Use treats, use bribes, go to food, go to drinks. Validation. I'm mad too. Validation therapy. I can't believe it. I'm getting out of this room too. And my face is changing also. Again, give them space, be patient, keep your hands by your side so that you do not look like you're in a defensive pose. Don't have an aggravated stance, and only one person needs to be talking. I want to talk about some specifics. If a person bites, if someone bites, gently pinch their nose and they will open their mouth. But you've got to remember to do it. Arr, they bite. Pinch their nose, they will open their mouth. If someone grabs or pulls hair, pick up their thumb, they will open their hand. If they have your hair back here, if you'll put both hands over their hand and then pick up, don't break their thumb, just pick up their thumb. We don't want to push back because we don't want them to fall. We don't want to push forward because we don't want them to fall. But we can pick up that thumb, feel their thumb. Another thing you can do sometimes is just kind of squeeze their hand and they'll pick up their thumb. If somebody has an object raised, a chair, a cane, a walker, it's probably about to fly across the room. Don't run at them screaming no, because they might fall. You get back and just get everybody back. It's all right. We can clean up whatever happens, but we're not going to start to yell and we're not going to try to run up and take it from them. If they're already in this position, they're probably getting ready to hit or throw it. Summary, all behaviors has a purpose. Try to identify the triggers. Try to do it as you see them ramping up so we never get to the point. We want to distract away before we get to that point. We can't change what's happening, the person, but we can determine the unmet need and we can accommodate it. And we can also change if we respond or react. Dementia changes a person's ability to communicate their unmet needs, but it doesn't take their needs away. And there's lots of strategies. Keep in mind, person with dementia is not giving you a hard time. They are having a hard time. I know that was a lot, and I've only left 3 minutes for questions. Let me have Marty come back on real quick and go over CEs real fast.
Thank you. Just great stuff. Hold on. So those of you that are joining us for CEUs today, we're providing CEUs, or actually James L. West Center is providing CEUs for licensed nurses, social workers, and LPCs in the state of Texas, as well as certificates of attendance. If you have a different license in Texas or a license outside of Texas, you're welcome to go through the process, get a certificate. Please note that there's no guarantee that the jurisdiction that you're working with will accept the certificates. In order to qualify, you must have completed the entire live webinar. It's worth 1.5 hours of CEU credit, and you must complete the SurveyMonkey evaluation form. Please note, SurveyMonkey evaluation note. There'll be 2 different evaluations. The SurveyMonkey is required for any certificate. And the link for that will be sent to you by me in a follow-up email. The SurveyMonkey will be available for you to fill out till actually 4/18. Sorry, it says 4/17. So please get that filled out before that date. And if you have any problems, please check with us so we can resolve them before that date. And then please give them 3 or 4 weeks after that date to get the certificates out to you. It does take a bit of time. In addition to that, as you close out of Zoom, you'll get a chance or invite to take a survey. That's the Google survey. That is our survey to help us track the goals and objectives we set forth when we applied for our funding. There will also be that link in the follow-up email as well. Next month, We're going to be talking again with James L. West. We're providing on Dementia 101. Please help us spread the word on that and join us, please. And then finally, we've been asking, we're doing a series of Spanish webinars with James L. West Center. They're an hour long. We're doing them every other month. Please help us spread the word. We are really working to try to get to the Spanish-speaking people that we can help. So please help us spread that word if you can.
Thanks, Marty. I've answered a few people that were asking questions in the Q&A. One that is here, and I know we're right at time. I'm going to answer this one, and then you can always email me at hglover@jameslwest.org. It's on that the last slide of the slideshow, and I'll get back with you. Or you can call me. The phone number's on there. But somebody asked, how do you handle when your person with dementia speaks loudly and rudely about others in a public place and you think they're being heard? One of the best things that I've ever had anybody do, and we have some here at the West Center, you can make your own, is I've had families make cards. They look like business cards, and it says, please excuse my loved one. They have dementia. They may say or do things they normally wouldn't say or do. We have some very generic ones, but I've got a lady here who made some specifically about her dad. It even has his little picture on there, and it says, please excuse my dad. He has Alzheimer's disease. He may say or do things he normally wouldn't do. Thank you. And she takes them with her, puts them on the edge of the table at a restaurant. She takes him places, and she said she'll put them in the palm of her hand and she can show people like as they walk up or approach so that they understand. That's something you can try as well. I've got some other ideas on it. Whoever asked that can also email me, hglover@jameslwest.org. I appreciate all of y'all being on here today. I hope I got to the questions. I tried to answer as many as I could see. I know we're right at time and we're very respectful of your time, but please email me. I will get back to you. Thank you, Marty.
Holly, thank you so very much. Thank you all for joining us. And we sure hope Holly's contact information will also be in the follow-up email. But thanks for joining us. Help us spread the word, and we hope to see you next month. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.